But first, Anthony Albanese has sharpened his attack on Peter Dutton today, warning that a vote for the coalition would be a return to darker, meaner, nastier times. If the PM is to be believed, Dutton is a boogeyman wanting to drag Australia back into the dark ages.
In coming days, Australians have a real choice. A choice between seizing the opportunities before us or letting the world overtake us. Between reaching for Australia's extraordinary potential or cutting into it. A choice between building Australia's future or a darker, meaner, nastier reboot of the past. A choice between going forwards or getting dragged backwards.
Yes, the election campaign is now a full-on scare campaign, as Albanese also insisted that Peter Dutton would scrap Medicare and destroy the public service if he was given keys to the lodge, James.
It's interesting, the attack that Labor have decided to go with in the last week of this campaign. Peter Dutton is mean, Peter Dutton is nasty, Peter Dutton is the devil or Trump. What's the difference, some would say. And Jason Clare was out today as well, saying that Peter Dutton was, and I quote, more aggro than the Cartoon Connection. Now, you've got to be at a certain age to get that pop cultural reference, Danica. But clearly they've decided they're going to portray Peter Dutton as angry and uptight, to which I would respond, I wish he were more angry and uptight. The country has been absolutely stuffed up in the past 3 years, whether it's housing, immigration, the economy, energy policy. And it feels to me like Peter Dutton has been fighting this election campaign with one hand tied behind his back because he's trying to avoid coming across as Labor are so desperate to portray him as angry and uptight. And so I feel like he's been pulling his punches. This Albanese government has been 3 years of just absolute abject failure in terms of taking our country forward. Peter Dutton should absolutely be making mincemeat of them, but I feel like he's trying to go carefully because he doesn't want to fall into the trap of the hard man.
I completely agree. And I think what's happened is as well, there's probably been a number of Labor focus groups that they've put out there.
No doubt.
And people are comparing Peter Dutton to Donald Trump, there's no doubt. We do know that a number of women in particular are very worried about that likeness between Donald Trump and Peter Dutton, which we know is absolutely not the case. Peter Dutton is a really, in terms of his actual personality, I think he is a very strong leader, one that we haven't seen in this country for a very long time.
He's never met Donald Trump. So
well, I mean, he should. I don't think he should. I actually don't think that he should have ever have said that publicly. But look, what it's very clear is Anthony Albanese, James, what we found throughout this entire campaign, Labor have repeated the same lines that they feel very comfortable with. Yeah. Their number one comfort line, other than obsessing about Peter Dutton, is saying that Peter Dutton is Donald Trump, or flashing that Medicare card around. Now, in the last week, what I've noticed in particular, there's been a real uptick in Labor's social media presence. They're putting out more videos than ever, more scare campaigns than ever, but they're really now targeting a younger audience. They're doing it to a backdrop of DJ music. They've got vision of Anthony Albanese on the DJ deck. So it's all very, I mean, I think it's crime. I'm saying it's cringe, but it's all very deliberate now in that final week of the campaign. Look, the polls obviously suggest that it will be a Labor minority, possibly a Labor majority. There's still a week to go in the campaign. It is going to be one seat by seat. That's what the Liberal Party is saying, that it is going to be one seat by seat. But I feel like the attacks are getting sharper and sharper. And I think it's really now or never for Peter Dutton.
And this is where I think the Labor campaign has been better because whether you like their tactics or not, and personally their tactics depress me because the country's in such a mess, a grown-up adult conversation about policy would be really good.
But there hasn't been policy on either side.
Well, but rather than the cheap shots that Labor have been taking, but at least they've really sharpened their campaign strategy, even if it is a miss, as compared to what I think, and maybe I'm being unfair, but I think the coalition have not been fully committed because they're trying to balance Peter Dutton's profile as being softer and more endearing. But at the same time, how do you do that while really going hard after Albanese, as they should?
I agree. And it was interesting because we did hear from Peter Dutton today. He was quite hard today. He's urging voters to ignore the ABC and The Guardian and other hate media who are predicting a coalition election loss on Saturday. He claims the mood on the ground and internal polling point to a coalition win. This is what he said.
I have no doubt in my mind that we can win this election. Forget about what you're being told by the ABC and the Guardian and the other hate media. Forget about that. Listen to what you're hearing on the doors. Listen to what people are saying on pre-polling. Know in your hearts that we are a better future for our country.
Interestingly, Dutton has admitted to mistakes, agreeing that he took too long to call out Anthony Albanese's penchant for telling porkies, though he didn't miss that opportunity today. Have a look.
I'm up on stage here. I'll give you this commitment. If I fall off the stage, I won't lie about it. All right?
I mean, he's got a point. Let's be realistic.
Good.
I thought that was really good because we know what happened. Albo falls off the stage, said he didn't fall off the stage. Then last week he said he did fall off the stage, and miraculously there was a turnaround within a couple of hours. He said, no, I didn't fall off the stage. Look, I really felt like Peter Dutton today found his mojo, James. It was very sharp, good, really, really straight to the point, attacking Anthony Albanese on everything, cost of living, his weakness as a Labor Prime Minister. I really felt like today he came out firing. Now, the question is obviously whether it might be too little, too late. That really remains a question. There's actually been more than 1 million voters so far in the pre-poll since pre-poll opened on Tuesday. That actually typically favours the coalition. It means that people have indeed made up their mind. Where Peter Dutton needs to focus his energy now on is that soft vote, because it is a higher softer vote than what we have seen in the past. But look, I thought that last week Peter Dutton had his best week on the campaign so far. I thought in the leaders' debate he was very strong. Look, the question remains whether that momentum can carry over the next 7 days.
Can I just say that Peter Dutton, who made the jab about, you know, if I fall off the stage, I won't lie about it, and he cracked a smile.
Yeah,
you don't see
funny.
Peter Dutton smile that often. He was funny.
Yes.
It's sharp, a little bit of sarcasm in there.
It's funny.
That's hitting the mark. Where has that been the past 5 weeks?
And the other thing I would say is I think he's got a very good point about the ABC and the Guardian, quite frankly. Let's be honest. The ABC have been particularly biased in interviews. They don't like the nuclear campaign. Last week, Sarah Ferguson schooled Michael Sukkar on a debate about housing, where she said, "How would she said something about your mum? How would your mum feel?" And also, let's not forget, it was the Guardian that dug up that picture of Jacinta Nampijinpa Price wearing a MAGA hat and made a big story about it. So he's actually got a point.
But of course, when that was dug up, they all backed away from it very
That's
quickly,
the problem.
right?
Yes.
So now he's calling out the hate media. I just wish that the coalition had had the boldness to speak like that over the duration of the campaign, rather than making a last-ditch, maybe change of tack in the last week, hoping it's going to make a difference.